apologetics. You know what I'm saying? Showing black dignity with the gospel. What up, y'all? It's your hometown hero, the real Adam Coleman. Y'all know what it is, man. Tru-ID Apologetics. And got a special announcement that I'd love to share with y'all today. I guess I got to share with y'all today because some changes are happening here on Tru-ID. If you go back to the very first Tru-ID episode, I mean, I'm talking about like back to when we were just doing audio, not even like the visual stuff, you know what I mean? I kind of shared like my story of how I got into Tru-ID apologetics and or just apologetics in general, and kind of my why, why I have this channel, why I have the podcast. And one of the things for me was I never wanted Tru-ID to be a one-man band. I always wanted to introduce other people to apologetics and also add people to the team. And so I'm excited to say that, we're finally like 10 years in, finally able to add some folks to the team and get some fresh faces, some fresh perspectives here on Tru-ID Apologetics channel. And so we're adding two co-hosts. That's what I'm trying to say. We're adding two folks to the fold who are going to bring some energy, some insight, some wisdom. And just, y'all don't have to stare at me, for a whole episode. You have some options. If you get tired of staring at me, you can look at somebody else's window. So let me introduce y'all to the new crew here on Tru-ID. First and foremost, I guess I should say foremost because they're both dope. I don't want to slight either one of them. But, first, I'll just put it that way. We have D New, a.k.a. the Sniper. How's it going there, D New?
I am good. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be good today. It's going to be good on today.
It's gonna be good on today. We're glad to have you. And so the next guy, he might actually have exited the chat because I said I was bringing you on first and foremost. So now I've got to deal. I've got to deal with that. He might have some smoke for me. He's gonna dip out. But a familiar face, my guy. BK Apologist. What's happening with you, my brother?
Yeah, what's going on, Mr. Tru-ID, DNU? Happy to be part of the True Crew. You know what I mean? The True Crew All Stars. You know what I mean?
True Crew All Stars. There you go.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man.
Glad to have you, my man.
No smoke, man. Not yet, at least. No smoke.
Not yet. Okay,
now.
You gonna hold out on the first show? Like you gonna save it for like a later show?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So yeah, man. Excited to have you guys. Excited for our viewers to be able to just kind of benefit from our dialogues and chats. It's still going to be about apologetics, culture, about things that are going on in current events from a Christian perspective, explicitly bringing into what we do a biblical worldview and just kind of looking at things from a biblical lens. But yeah, I mean, just introduce yourselves. I guess kind of maybe how you guys got into apologetics, and then we can definitely talk about how we met and things of that nature. But who wants to go first? I guess should we do ladies first? Is that how we should roll?
Of course.
All right.
Well, I think I tell this story most often, but the way that I got into apologetics, just in general, was because I grew up in church. And I grew up like in a time where people weren't really antagonistic to Christianity like they are now. Like people might not have been Christian, but no one was like dogging the Bible or God. So I grew up Christian, and then it was when I got to university that I was surrounded for the first time really by a community of people who didn't think like I did, a community of people, of smart people at that, who were telling me in different ways that the Bible is just a fairy tale, that creation is a myth, just every which way, every direction. And so it was during my university experience that I really came to the conclusion and realization that I really needed to think about what I think and why am I a Christian? Why do I believe these things? All of these people are saying forcefully that it's not. And so that was really the thing that propelled me to discover apologetics. I still have the first book that I ever got, New Evidence That Demands a Verdict. It's the hard book, and it's all ratted and tatted. But um, just getting into that and realizing things that I had no idea about. I had no idea about, like, you know, the historicity of Jesus. No idea about these things called manuscripts and the evidence and all of these things and reliability. I had never heard of these things growing up. And so that was my entry into apologetics in general. And then, of course, my entry into urban apologetics is another story. But I think that we can thank COVID for that, really.
We can thank COVID. All right. Gotcha. Your origin story into apologetics began with a virus. Okay, we'll leave it at that. That sounds interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that about in terms of you going to college, because actually that in some way mirrors my story as well. You know, mine's a little bit different. Like, whereas I, as people might imagine, I'm just kind of naturally argumentative. So it's kind of what I do. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like I'm not like mean with it or anything like that, but like I'm very comfortable arguing with people. You know, I can do it all day, and it doesn't, like, my blood pressure doesn't rise not one bit. And so when I went to college, it was my first time as well. You know, being around people who believe differently than me and my family did. You know, with maybe a few exceptions prior to that. And it was funny. I remember, and I'll keep this relatively short because I want to talk, get you in here, BK. But when you were talking, it just reminded me. I was working I was at VCU when I went to my undergrad, and I was working at a Christian bookstore across the street from the school. And I remember, working there one day, and this young lady comes in, and she's like, we're talking about something. And she's like, oh yeah, what's your name? I'm like, yeah, Adam Coleman. She's like, oh, you're Adam Coleman. I was like, that's weird. Like, I mean, that's a strange response from somebody I don't know. I was like, yeah, like, I mean, what's up with that? Like, what's up with that response? And she was like, you're the guy that's always arguing with your instructors. I heard about you. It's just like,
wow.
I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't know I had that reputation, but apparently I did. And it was true. I mean, like, because in my mind, professors were there to teach, but if you say something against the faith, it's like, all right, cool. Then this is what you want. If you say you're on for discussion about that, then we're on for discussion about that. Now, I didn't really know much about apologetics at the time, like very little, but I was ready to go at any time, ignorant or not. I was ready to debate the faith.
You just reminded me of sorry, BK. This is it. I'm done. But you just reminded me. I took a women's studies course, and I didn't know that I didn't know that women's studies was essentially feminism, right? And so, I had a whole year of this professor just saying crazy things that I had never heard of, even just railing up against men and patriarchy in general. But I remember her talking about the Bible, and she mentioned the parable. Is it the parable in the New Testament when it's not a parable? When I believe it's the Sadducees come to Jesus and talk about, a man had a wife, and the husband died, and then the brother became, that story. Right. And she was trying to just propagate this idea of absolute patriarchy and how the Bible is just so terrible. And what do you mean, whose wife she? And I remember, I was familiar with the story, but I remember just thinking, like, I mean, I don't really have, what can I say? I don't have anything to say to this woman. I mean, she's smarter. She's smarter than me. And so it was just like little incidents like professors saying things that I was like, well, I know that you're wrong, but how would I demonstrate that to you? So again, just little things that propelled me to apologetics.
That's real. That's real. Yeah. I mean, so we got two people who seem to be a pretty comfortable arguments. Like, because like now that you got like some ammunition, you're ready to go. You know what I mean? BK, I'm hoping you can balance this out, man. Like, You know,
I
you're
don't know.
known as
Well,
being a peacemaker, but then you was a battle rapper back in the day. So I don't know. We might be out of the frying pan into the fire, bro. I don't know. Like,
I mean, yes, I mean, all right. So I became a Christian when I went to college, right? So
okay,
I never finished. I got a few credits, but while I was there, you know, baby Christian. So I'm trying to, you know, share my faith, talk to people about Jesus. Now, remember, I'm from New York. So a lot of what we now call bricks had its origin or mainstay in New York. So I'm dealing with the Nuwabians. I'm dealing with Hebrew Israelites, NOI, the 5%ers. They're all in the same school that I'm in. And remember, I'm like 3 months in the faith. I know the Gospel of John and the book of Acts. That's about it. That's all I know at that point, right? So they're throwing scriptures at me, like, ye ain't God, you know, ye are gods and this and that. I'm like, that is in the Bible. You know, maybe it's true. I don't, you know, so I'm getting a little nervous. But then I would go home and, you know, I would read it in context. And I'm like, oh, these guys is wild. Like, this is not what it's saying. And unbeknownst to me, at that time, I'm actually doing apologetics. I didn't know it was called that, but I'm defending the faith. I'm doing my research, coming back to them and be like, nah, when you said this, you look at this verse and blah, 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 you know. So I was already doing apologetics. I just didn't know it was called that. I was just trying to, you know. And yeah, so I became a rapper after I became a believer. So I didn't rhyme until I became a Christian. So I don't I mean, I was a poet. I was into creative writing, but I never like rapped until I became a Christian. So now I'm dealing with dudes who are MCs who are Hebrews and Nuwabians. So we get in ciphers and, you know, they hear what I'm saying. So they're throwing their shots. So I'm going back at them in the lunchroom. You know, I got their people laughing at them. You know what I mean? So it's like, but yeah, I mean, I didn't know I was defending the faith. I mean, I guess I did know, but I didn't know it was apologetics. So from very early on, I had to defend the faith because they were coming for me early.
So I didn't even know that. So for you, so for you, apologetics has essentially always been a part of your walk with Christ, like from your infancy stage, if you will, as a Christian. I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. So like for me, I caught it pretty late. Like, you know, my dad, who also, you know, he's passed on now, but he also was not shy when it comes to arguing. It's got in his DNA. I remember when I was going off to college, actually, I think I probably had the book right behind me right now, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna look for it in a second, but yeah, he bought me a book, my first book on apologetics. You know, it had to do with evolution and things of that nature. And he's like, man, yeah, you're gonna need this, you know. And I mean, I read it, but it didn't really like stick, so to speak. It didn't really like, you know, I can't like, I guess, impact me, but so much. But later on, you know, I mean, after grad school and all that, I mean, when I hadn't even got married at this point, he sent me another series of books with like William Lane Craig and Frank Turek and a number of guys. And for whatever reason, during that season of my life, it really did click. It's like, oh wow, like there's this whole intellectual side of the faith, you know, where like you, BK, I mean, I'd been rapping for years at that point. And so through that context, I would be, you know, engaging in battles and things like that. But that was the first time where I was like, oh, well, there's this intellectual side to the faith, you know? And interestingly enough, so I remember he sent me these, you know, about 5 or so books, like it was in like May or something like that. And, you know, not to go too far afield, but it was in like May of that year. And like 5 months later, long story short, my wife and I, we had just newly been married maybe about a year or so. And unfortunately, like, we had our first miscarriage, you know, which was like devastating. Like it was like, yo, where, you know, God, where are you? Type of a situation. But because I had been like studying apologetics like literally every day, you know, for like 5 months, you know, wrestling with the problem of evil and how to think through it logically and all, like apologetics gave me like a safety net to bolster my faith during that kind of emotion shattering time, you know, and it really helped me to just kind of hang in there, you know. And so for me, that is a big part of why I do apologetics. Like I literally don't know where I would be as a Christian if it were not for God using apologetics in my life to ground my faith in something sound and rational, you know. And so this has been huge for me. And then, you know, even with that though, it was maybe about 2 years later, I was, you know, working this overtime gig, and I was listening to apologetics like 4 or 5 hours a day. Like I was in this cubicle, just like consuming, you know, just every day, you know, all day, just a bunch of podcasts and all this kind of stuff. And I started to realize that at the time there weren't really any resources, you know, of anybody addressing the stuff that we refer to as urban apologetics. Like it was a lot of stuff on the existence of God and you know, valuable material, but nobody was dealing with the Nuwapians, the Hebrew Israelites, the, you know, the Comedics who are saying that, well, Christianity is a copy of, you know, the Book of the Dead, or Jesus copy from Horus, and so on and so forth. I'm like, man, I had people that I know in my family, you know what I mean, who are coming at me with these things, and, you know, I'm not seeing responses to it. And I was like, man, you know, we need a resource. And I'm not going to mention the apologist's name, but just out of respect. But there was an apologist who was of the fair skin persuasion, who was talking about how to respond to, is Christianity the white man's religion? And he was going to be going to South Africa or something like that. And he was like just talking about how he was prepping for that. And I remember thinking like, those responses are cool, but you know, you need a little bit more to that. And I started writing them a letter, you know, email, whatever, like explain, hey, you might want to hit these points. And I got about 75% of the way through the letter. I was like, you know what? Why don't I do it? Why don't I start Tru-ID? You know, that's how Tru-ID was born. Essentially, it was out of that. You know, just like, you know what? Hey, why don't I get off the sidelines? You know, this is in my wheelhouse. And, you know, actually, shout out to I think it was Ernest Cleo Grant, you know, shout out to him. You know, a lot of people who watch me probably know him. I actually hopped on the phone with him one day, you know, before I started the show, and I was going to write a book. He was like, man, that'd be cool, but you would be more impactful if you did something like a podcast or a YouTube channel and so forth. And so that's actually, you know, why I started the channel, man. So yeah. And here we are, you know, about 10 years later, you know, with you guys hopping on board, man. So I'm really thankful for that, for sure.
Yeah. It's I always think, not always, but frequently, I guess, how God just uses situations in our lives to bring us to where we arrive, and then we just continue on, you know, a trajectory that we don't know about right now. But it's just so interesting, the things that God uses in our lives to, you know, basically lead us more to him, but then also to other people and other believers. So yeah, I love hearing that story.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So with that being said, like, is there anything surprising that is it to like in your experiences, you know, doing, I mean, because both of you guys have, yeah, I mean, you know, it can't be overstated. Both of you guys have a ton of experience, you know, researching these materials and dealing with, you know, different faith groups. Has anything taken you by surprise, you know, as you kind of engage in urban apologetics?
Oh man,
I'm guessing so. Where you at, BK?
All right, so it was early on, because we got to get back to how we got together, right? You still got to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but there was when I got to know Vocab, right? Vocab put me in this Facebook group that he has.
Vocab was very surprising. All you have to say is Vocab. he himself, he embodies surprise. Yeah.
So you know, we're you know, I'm engaging some of the Hebrew Israelites, you know, and asking questions and asking them to back up their claims, and you know, we're always talking about how important context is, right? And the various contexts, right? The cultural context, the actual linguistics, and the, you know, stuff like that. And I remember this one Hebrew was like, well, show me context in the Bible. Give me a precept where I need to know the context of the Bible. Right. I was so taken aback by that I actually logged off for the rest of the day. I'm like, I don't believe this person actually said. No, I did. I was done with my computer for the rest of the day. That threw me. I'm like, you really want to defend not reading in context?
Wow.
So that was
wow.
I mean, I've heard stuff even worse than that, but that's the first time I really heard like a proud unveiling of someone's ignorance.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was
that's
like
a good way to put it. Yeah.
Like he really thought he had me there, you know. And I'm like, this is so sad. Right.
You can't show me context in the Bible.
I kid you not. I closed my laptop and I went to go watch TV or something. Like I was done for the day. I'm like, there's no way.
I was gonna say, I just kind of imagine you like closing your laptop and just wandering through Central Park aimlessly, like pondering this.
Like, what are we doing here? It's like, this is...
for me,
Parthenogenesis.
This is it. Okay. So, we talk about like my experience in university. I majored in biology. Okay. And so when I came across, by way of BK apologist, when I came across,
it's your fault, BK.
It is young Pharaoh saying the things that he was saying. I truly, truly was taken aback. I did not understand how a human could actually believe these things. But he did, apparently. I watched a few more videos and I found out a few more people also believe the same thing. So I think that parthenogenesis is probably just, I would say for me, the wildest thing that comes out of the community that we deal with.
And what is parthenogenesis? I don't even know if I can pronounce it right, but partho. I'll just call it that. Partho. What is it again?
It's parthenogenesis, parthenogenesis, if you want to break it down that way. But parthenogenesis is basically, the ability to have offspring without a mate. So partheno, virgin, birth. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea that I heard from young Pharaoh is that at one time the Black woman, because she's God, was able to have babies without the help of a male counterpart.
Yeah, that's wild. So,
but then turn around and then critique the virgin birth of Jesus.
What's that?
Right.
But then they'll turn around and critique the virgin birth of Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the crazy part. Like, because people like young Pharaoh would say that this can happen through natural processes. That's the crazy part. Now, if he was making a supernatural claim, like, I mean, obviously the Bible is making a supernatural claim. It's not saying that Mary had, Jesus through natural processes without, knowing a man. It's saying that a miracle was performed by God, to bring that about, But these folks are not saying that. And so the first time I heard something like that was, and this is old school right here, the OG pseudo Bobby Hemmett. A lot of cats don't even know Bobby Hemmett nowadays. I'm saying, but we're talking about going back to at least maybe the 80s, maybe the 70s. You know what I mean? Where he was, I mean, it was so old. And I'm kind of showing my age here now, but like I don't know if y'all remember like microfiches back in the day, or the teacher would bring in the projector and have like
the plastics,
the clear sheet. You know what I mean? They would project it on the screen. Like he would have those with diagrams talking about like the chakras and women having children by the sun is what he would talk about. Like I like when I first got into urban apologetics, and I was like, man, like I'm not even trying to be funny, but I mean, that's either got to be mental illness or heavy drug use, and it was like the crack heroin he was like balls. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on here, but how can a grown man rationally, come to that conclusion? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the thing that boggles my mind, because it's not even that when they say these things that they're able to articulate more than just their claim. They literally can't go beyond, yep, she did it this way, and this is what happened. But when you get into the how, which is what this conversation requires, it requires you to go into the how did this happen. I have not been presented with any explanation by anyone over the last 4 years of the how. How did this happen? Right. Tell me that it. And so, yeah, it's just mind-boggling to me. But then, as you mentioned, they'll critique every little thing about Christianity as if it's crazy, So.
But I think, like, what do y'all think about this too? And I do want to get back to like how we teamed up. But to your point, and I think, and BK, I think you've actually hinted at this as well. I think when it comes to these different worldviews, like Nuwapianism, whoever we're dealing with, Hebrew Israelites or whatever, because they're so anti-Christianity, if a claim is out of step with or against Christianity, for them, that in and of itself is validation for that claim.
Yeah.
Like they don't necessarily need evidence and so on and so forth. Like that, just the fact that it's against Christianity, that's enough.
That's enough.
And I think that a lot of times, many of these worldviews, people who hold these worldviews, they actually haven't really thought through their own objections to Christianity.
I mean, a great example of that.
They haven't thought it through.
A great example of that is when the Hebrew Israelites, the One Westers, when they used the Zondervan Pocket Bible Dictionary and read the entry on Ham, and how that is being derived from the Hermetic hypothesis, where racist anthropologists would say that nothing great in Africa was built by actual Africans, so they created this white race of Africans called Hamites, and this is where the Zondervan's picking from. So it's like you're using white supremacist ideology, and we bring that up to them all the time, and they don't care. It's like, this cuts your whole thing, and it's like, but as long as it benefits their point, they don't care where it comes from, even if it comes from the actual white supremacists that they allegedly are railing against. So
right. That's wild. Yeah. So these are the kind of things we're going to get to on the channel, because I think that there's still, believe it or not, I think for us, like we're a part of a community, the UA community, urban apologetics community, and so a lot of these things are familiar to us. But believe it or not, a lot of people are still unaware of the kinds of refutations to these different worldviews that are available to Christians, and so that's what the channel is really about: is exposing people to that. So I was wondering where to go here or not. So BK, we've got a history, when it comes to the streets of New York, man. You know what I mean? Like we've had many an argument over hip hop. You know what I'm saying about EPMD, and somehow that forged our dynamic duo. You know what I mean? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, so we got to backtrack a little bit. So I got to know you, I think, through Vocab. Was that how I got to know you?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
And before that, I knew Vocab because of Ayo Green. So shout out to Ayo Green, wherever you are. I completely lost touch with him, but he introduced me to Vocab, and then Vocab introduced me to you. And I still don't have a actual urban apologetic channel yet. I have an old YouTube channel, and I think I just started like posting up like sermons I would do in my church. But that's it. That's all I would have. So there was no BK Apologies at the time. So I think Frank Turek had an apologetic training, right? Seminar in Brooklyn. And then you, Vocab, What Do You Mean, Sam Shamoon, like all the big dogs came to New York. So that's the first time I met.
Training. Yeah.
Right. Uh-huh. So they were like, yo, we're gonna meet at Times Square. We were just hunting for Hebrews. Like we was at Union Square. We went to Times Square. It's like free smoke. It was free smoke for everybody.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's when I finally first met Adam. And Adam and Vocab were really encouraging me to start my own like official channel, because they were saying how, nobody in New York is really doing what you're doing. I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, there is nobody like you doing what you're doing here. I didn't even realize that. So then I'm like, man, let me incorporate my city in my apologetics. And I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. So therefore, BK Apologists. But that would not have happened if I didn't have this conversation with Adam and Vocab. So blame Adam.
Oh wow, I didn't know. So I didn't know you
all
were
the shenanigans that I get into.
But I think that I want to say the name BK Apologists, I think it came up in that conversation. I might be misremembering, but I feel like as we were just kind of talking around ideas, I think somebody said something like the Brooklyn Apologists, and then like next thing you know, the BK Apologists. You know what I mean? Like I remember that combo. Yeah.
So, wow. So Adam, and I've said this before on my channel with Adam. So so Adam played a major part of my origin story as BK Apologist. So again, Adam, I want to thank you so much for inspiring me to do what I'm doing. So, you know what I mean?
100%, bro.
BK, because I remember the first time I came across you was you did a video, and I think it was with vocab as well, but you weren't BK Apologist. You just had your name in the corner of the screen. And I remember watching that show, and I just loved the way that you did your thing. And I remember that I went on the internet, I went on YouTube looking for you. I typed in your name and then nothing came up. And then I went to the Google machine and I typed up your name and nothing came up. So that's how I first got introduced, not to you as BK Apologist, but as Alfredo. And so, yeah.
Well, how I got to know you was, again, I guess through vocab, by you being the moderator. And you just,
I guess we got to shout out vocab. Like, we keep coming back to vocab. He's the epicenter, right?
You know. But I saw you handling, business as a moderator. But then I would see you being the moderator on various other channels. I'm like, man, DJ gets busy.
Yo, she was doing a lot of moderating, dog. Like that blue wrench was out here. Like
swinging. So then vocab had the
Cyber City.
The Cyber City. And I was one of the people speaking there. So she was in charge of, getting all the speakers in line, getting them ready and blah, blah. And I'm like, man, Dean Neal's a very disciplined, sharp person. This is, very impressed. So then when I started having my Bodega Bible Talks on Fridays, again, during the pandemic, right? And I would see Dean Neal and Michelle and a lot of the sisters in the chat just giving just great insight on the various topics we're talking about. And during one of the shows, I'm like, you know what? We need to have a Bodega Ladies Night. We need to get the ladies here and get busy because they're getting busy in the chat. Like they need, I want to share my platform with them so people could see how amazing these sisters were. And I think I reached out to Michelle, and then I think, did Michelle reach out to you?
No, you reached out to me.
I reached out to you.
As well.
Then you reached out to
and then I reached out to other people,
And then they formed their own back chat to prepare for that. And it's supposed to be a one-off. It's supposed to be a one and done.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But they became like amazing friends. And then that's where the Bodega Ladies were born. But then, me and Dean, when we did that show with about Zion and Polite.
Yeah.
And Dean went to town on Polite. Like she really, really, and I think for a lot of people, it's the first time they really saw, how Dean can really, break stuff down. And then of course, right. I think that's before Pharaoh.
Yeah.
That's what you did with Polite.
Yeah.
Then when people saw you do what you did to young Pharaoh, then that's when the sniper that's when that moniker really like got put on you. You know what I mean? And rightfully so. So yes, that's how I got to know Dean.
Yeah. I validate that everything you said is true.
You know what? Actually, that Cyber City that you organized, like I think to this day, I don't know of any other like cyber conference that's been that sharp. You know what I'm saying? And just so full of content like that. That was. I mean, I can't remember how many speakers we had. We had well over 10, I would think.
Oh, there was. There was close. I think there was around 15 to 18, I believe it was.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So it was
a lot
of
channels too. That was fire.
Yeah. It took a lot of coordination. I'm not really an I wouldn't say. I actually, to be honest with you, I shocked myself because I'm not really an organizer. But
could have fooled me because you did your thing, man.
Right.
That's the first time that I ever did anything like that, and sometimes to myself I say, "Who is this chick?" But I mean, I just saw what needed to be done, and I wanted to like lessen the workload for vocab as much as possible, and so I just tried to help out.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I mean, vocab keeps coming. I might as well just have him on the show, but we also, me and Dino, street level apologetics, right? Mm-hmm. We've also contributed to this work right here, where I wrote some chapters and Dino wrote for it as well. And I think you organized this book as well, right? Didn't you do like the editing and organizing and whatnot?
I edited the book. So I have probably like on my computer right now, I'm just looking at probably over like 30. I know vocab's book better than he does. I have every iteration of that book from like the first draft to the final copy. So yeah. But my origin story into the UA is, again, basically via vocab. What happened is I know someone who became involved in the Hebrew Israelite movement, and no one knew what that was, and including myself. And so I went straight online, just trying to get information like, what is this? And of course, vocab and his channel popped up, and I just went through all of his videos. And at the time, I had no idea that, YouTube had this feature called the live chat. And I had no idea that you could talk to people and things like that. And so essentially, it was just that's the way that I got into at least that little vector of the UA community. And then, of course, I found out about you guys through following that. So that's my origin story in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I want to say, I think I first met you in person, at least in Detroit, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We was at Drum Gay was there. I think it was Pastor Lawson, I believe. In Detroit, there was like an urban apologetics conference up there that I believe he was there.
Yeah. That was the first time. Yeah. That was how long? That was like maybe 6 years ago.
That was a while ago. Yeah, probably. Yeah, at least 6 years. That's crazy.
When I met you, I remember thinking, oh, he's tall. Like you're tall, and BK so you guys are taller than I thought. So yeah, it's cool. It's just always cool to.
I look short on camera. I guess I got my camera too low, so I don't know. But yeah, I want to say, like, man, who else was there? Because like, see, Jerome was there. I don't know. I don't think Damon was there. I think Titus too might have been there.
Yeah,
I think she was there. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I want to say, I think Chris Samuel was there. I'm pretty sure. No, Brandon Cleaver was there. I know Brandon Cleaver was there for sure.
I have the flyers somewhere. I have the flyers.
Oh, for real? Oh, that'd be dope. I would love to get like a copy of that.
I think the first time the three of us were in the same room was just recently at the Urban Apologetic Summit, right? That's the first time the three of us were.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, right. Yeah, this past February, at Epiphany. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it's cool because if I think about it, like we've all met more than once. Like BK, I think that before Philly, we've met like what?
We met in Detroit.
You met in Detroit.
We met some more before.
Yeah. I feel like I don't feel like Detroit was Detroit the first time we physically?
I think so. Detroit was the first time I met you.
Oh, it just feels like we've known each other longer than we.
Well, we've done all these videos and the Bodega Bible Talk and all that. Yeah. Back chats with the rest of the crazy ladies. You know what I mean? It's like
fighting violence that connects people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, matter of fact, I want to say I can't remember which show it was that the three of us did before. But my wife, she was like, "Man, y'all have a great chemistry. Like y'all should do more stuff." And that just kind of always stuck with me. And so even more so recently, thinking about having some co-hosts, y'all were the first that came to mind. And I want to say it was in that whichever video that was. Somebody people in the chat was joking on it, say like all y'all do is giggle and eat or something like that. It's something.
Well, you eat. We get
right. You
eat.
Right. At the time, I was known. I definitely was known to have a slice of pizza or two during the podcast. Yeah. A sandwich, something like that.
Yeah,
man.
So your wife is the executive producer then, basically, of this.
She is. I mean, so truth be told, definitely, when it comes to bringing this team together here, she was definitely instrumental in that. Like she's been saying, I need to have y'all back on and regularly do shows with y'all. And so I guess eventually it clicked. It's like, you know what? We're just gonna make it real regular. We just gonna just from here forward, we're just gonna go ahead and co-host it up, And I think that, the reality is. Conversations are interesting. You know what I mean? I think it's, when you can hear one person's perspective on apologetics, that's great. But I think there's just something that comes out of I mean, y'all know how it is. Like when we start talking about apologetics, the conversation can go anywhere, you know. And so I think that people could really benefit from that, and also it helps them to see how to apply apologetics in a conversational setting. You know, like it's not just about regurgitating information, but like how do you have conversations? So I think people will be able to glean from that as well. Yeah, but yeah, Candace is definitely the mastermind. My wife. Yeah.
I wanted to say that I loved meeting Candace in Philly. Like I mean, it was good to see you again too, Adam.
right. Yeah.
Nice to meet Candace in person for the first time, and I felt like we connected as soon as we met. And
These real cool people, bro. These real cool people.
Like old friends were hugging, so it was awesome to meet her.
Yeah, my wife really enjoyed meeting her as well. So
it's just good to go from online knowing and meeting people to meeting them in person. So yeah, it was really good to sit down and.
Now she really enjoyed hanging out with the ladies, man.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, it's gonna be much more to come. People can expect regular shows from us. I would love for people to email me at Tru-ID apologetics@gmail.com if they have questions or topics they want us to cover. And just glad to have y'all, man. Thank y'all for joining the squad, and let's make something happen.
Let's do it.
And y'all still know what it is, man. Love God, love people, take care of things that God blesses you with. That's still the moniker. You know what I mean? That's still the slang around here. So much love to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. It's fun. I'm excited.